here's kind of the finished look to it, and it's close to what they had, but kind of little modifications to it. And just kind of looking at the beginning. So they have a background, and they talk about taking the shapes and popping it right on the screen, and giving the rounded corners on the tree trunk as well. So it's trying to give that selection there a little bit of change. So once it's made, you can add color to it, change the scaling. They duplicate it in order to make the different branches that come across this, and it kind of gives that selection. Let's see if I can. There, so it flips it once it gets across, and then by using the eraser tool with the option, it kind of has a new trick on how to eliminate pieces. So using and adding to it, or taking the same pieces to copy, and then make a little bit more kind of adding to it. So you make one and you can just copy it and duplicate some of those items. Here it's just doing the cedar tree with the branch and curving it using the widget for the option with the direct selection tool to curve that corner, so you don't really have to curve it yourself. You can just draw it straight, put it together, use the trunk again to make the circular tree, use this one to make kind of the three pieces, and then that's where it uses the eraser tool, which we hold the option and it'll let you take away half of the item right away. It's kind of, they have the Pathfinder shape builder and the eraser tool. And then this part, just giving a little triangular shapes with the polygon tool, three-sided, a little bit smaller. And here I just made one and duplicated a number of copies with Command D, and then was able to go back in and manipulate and move them around a little bit. Here it is with the same idea with this pine tree, just three triangles with the polygon tool, different shades using the color palette. Gives you the tint and the tone and the shade, makes it a little bit easier. And then once you have all the elements, then it's a matter of just putting it together. This last one is a little bit more elaborate as they go through it. It's kind of adding a couple shapes, couple sizes to it. And for example, here's the trunk with two light and a dark side to it. Brings that across. Let's see if we can scale this piece together. So you have all these pieces, just kind of moving them off the stage, taking a look at the layout that they have, and just kind of modifying it, placing it in there. If they have an align tool, but if you have different varied sizes, it'll be hidden by the snowbank. So you can try the align if you need to, and try to place all these pieces together. So here it's just a matter of moving them into place, scaling them. You can do a ton of different variations. These are all stylized version of this landscape. And here, for example, this smaller cedar, just taking the big one and duplicating it, and then changing all the different branch sizes to it. Just kind of scroll over here. So here's just making the branches smaller, losing some of the shapes on the top, and scaling it in. So it makes it much easier if you're using this stylized version of an illustration. So there you have it, kind of laid out there. And if you have something that's grouped together, when you double click you get into the isolation mode, and that makes it a little bit easier to keep things organized and just flip through them pretty quickly. Kind of shoots through it. And then here's for the snowbank, is just a circle with the option to duplicate it, Command D to duplicate it all the way across, and then using the eraser tool. And for the clouds it was just the rounded rectangle tool, and that's just variation to that. On the snowflake, same idea, just clicking the shape tool, and it's already preset to all of these little circles, so you can just click on them, and then just to hide the background, get a beige color background to bring it together, and it makes it all one piece. And then just do a screenshot of it. So like I said, it's a stylized variation. You can come up with your own icons of the images to come up with your own design. The image from what we made, if you have this file, and I just want to show you how to do some of the recoloring of it. So what I did was I just copied the graphic onto a new layer, And over in the color palette, when you take a look, you have all these options in a few of them. So when you get down to the one part in the color guide where it gives you the shades and the tints of the color, it also gives you a color palette that comes open like so, and all these different colors that you can assign to this section. So if I select this entire image and click on this part, it'll show some of the current colors that you have, or that are in the picture right now. And it'll take a little getting used to because there's a lot involved in here, but it gives you the color palettes, the color modes, color combinations, and it starts off with a few to get you started and where you can pick them. So HSB is the hue, saturation, and brightness. The recolor art is highlighted, and if you take the hue and saturation, obviously it's going to stay within that color scheme right now, of which one it's highlighting. And you have some preset colors, everything that you can take. There's color groups. You can create your own color group. When you pick on this one, for example, which is the brights, and it includes the primary colors, red, yellow, blue, and the secondary colors, orange, green, and violet. When you pop that open, it'll give you those color palettes listed. And here they are listed as CMYK color scheme. So you can choose from there. There's also this color group that's down below in the swatches library. So when you go through this, say you pick ice cream, for example, this color scheme will show up with that ice cream highlighted. Here I just move this over so you can see the colors that are listed for ice cream, almost like a Neapolitan color. But taking a look at some of these sections as well. So we'll try flowers in nature, and that gives you this group, and you can transfer and close and keep into that color group. So as you go through some of this, you can also change the colors that are listed in here, and whatever's highlighting it will show up. There's some icons down below that will show you that randomly changing the color order. It does some for the saturation and the brightness, and this last one is just for the items that you can choose from the artwork. So when you take a look at getting new rows, new color schemes all the way through here, this will also give you, when you take a look inside here, the color libraries, color harmony. This selection, it gives you the amount of colors that you can choose from, and this will let you edit. So this gives you a color wheel that you can then edit those colors based off of this one. So the green, you could say, well, I want to have that be a little brighter green, duller green, and it shows up on this one. Keeps it in a color harmony with this by manipulating all the colors at the same time. But it'll give you that selection. Up at the top, there's color harmonies for when you talk about color schemes. There's a whole slew of them. It starts off with complementary colors if you just did a complementary color scheme. And you can see that coming across. So it kind of gives you a lot to work with to start off, and when you do this, it'll show you what the color scheme looks like related to the color wheel. So it's kind of a nice educational addition to what happens with the colors as you go through it. And you can manipulate and change the colors all the way through. These icons, once you're in this section, it's tricky because you get moved around a little bit as it goes through the color scheme, color wheel, everything that comes through it. So you can kind of get a little bit of a section there. So now when you assign it, you have that color scheme to work with. But this is one way to recolor everything once you have it listed, and it gives you a lot of control because you can then, change the colors if you need to. So I'll just click OK on that one just to show it to you. So there's the all color scheme changed over based off of that. Here's all the tints and tones that are listed in that color. So you can actually go back and change specific pieces to this. You take a look, that's all one piece. I could change that to yellow if I want to, but I have this whole range of items to choose from. So it'll give you a little bit of a thing to work with as far as that goes. There it is, back to the original.